Hey, what's up, guys? Tugi here, back again with another episode of my California Golden Seals Draft to Glory franchise mode series. Right here on NHL 19 again. It's a mouthful of a title. Regardless, we are back. We left the last episode post-draft, post-playoff disappointment, kind of, sort of. Again, I'm now in the mindset of, hey, you know what? We're taking steps forward in a way. We're still in a pretty good spot. And that led us to this re-sign phase, where we had the main option of potentially letting Zeeler go as an RFA and getting back a lot of compensation. Of course, we haven't really used, and we flat out haven't used offer sheets with players, mainly because it's only worth it for the higher end guys. Like, if I let go of a 75 overall guy, we're not going to get any compensation for him because the salary is not going to be high enough for us to get any compensation. So it's really only a factor when it comes down to major players like this. And I left you guys the option whether or not you thought we should hold on to him or let go of him. And the people have spoken. We are going to be holding on to Zeeler. I'm going to try to sign him for that full 8-year deal. Of course, we've done that for a lot of our guys at this point, trying to lock them down, get them signed for the 8 years, and then that way we really don't have anything to worry about. We don't have to think like, oh, well, we got to sign this guy after 3 years. Like, no, our core is locked in and good to go. So we'll look to sign Zeeler, or re-sign Zeeler, and we'll pretty much be good to go through another season. Reichel's back, Zeeler is back. There you go. Easy does it. Our roster is set. The only thing that there is left to do is to sim towards the preseason. Now, the big thing here that I'm interested in, of course, aside from player development and what changes we might see on that front, is whether or not we end up finding it worth it to maybe change up player types as well, which is something I haven't done that much. But with this game being the way it is, they have said that there is a change in how players develop. Snipers will actually develop better in those certain attributes that they should, as opposed to an 18 where you draft a grinder, but they'd have an Ovechkin-esque shot and no physicality. So I'm thinking as well, it might be even more beneficial this year as opposed to last year to make sure that players are in that better role, especially when they're in that range, 20 to 22. They still have that little bit of prime development, those extra points that could go to make them even better in a certain way could be extremely beneficial as well. But that is something I will look at if needed, of course, as we are good to go. So let's get everything set up. Yet another season here in California. Let's see what we can do. So we still have about $11 million in cap space. Sestito and Wilson, of course, will be the 1-2 punch. Fedorov, this will be his last season here. We're going to give Saprikin the chance. Of course, Iliakis will be the goaltender that's signed next year when we are forced to sign him. He'll have one more season as an unsigned player. Of course, he'll continue to progress. And our first change here, more than likely, is the addition of Antoine Lalonde as the third pairing defenseman over Jenks. I think that's pretty straightforward. Cook is the other guy there, so I think we're good on that front. That's going to be the defense this season. And then forward-wise, that is our top 10, 11 and 12 with Barahowski. Halverson will be out. Barahowski is better as it is, or at least has more promise. And that actually pretty much sorts itself out. So not many changes. Slight changes as far as the fourth line and the third pairing is concerned. But aside from that, we are good to go. So defensively, we are fine. Jesus, that defense. Now, Rokon is on that top pairing via best line. So Niedermeyer, Rokon, Fuller, Zeeler, Lalonde, and Pielstrom. That is a tremendous defense. And of course, if you look too, Niedermeyer, 4 more years, 5 years of Rokon, 6 years of Fuller, 8 years of Zeeler, 6 more years of Pielstrom. Like, we are set. We are good to go. This is our time now. While the top 6 isn't exactly dominant, this is our time to shine. The goaltending has panned out with Brock Sestito. Of course, he's got 2 years left on that deal. We just need the offense to be able to carry the slack, and we'll see whether or not they can do that this season. But with Redden, for example, we do know he's a sniper, and actually, we'll take a better look at potentially changing certain player types up if it makes sense to. The one thing I'm worried about, though, is Krog's penalty tendency. And I can't help but think it might be worth bumping up a Bryson Webb. 81 face-off, 79. It might be worth giving Webb a chance because Lieb can play center. I think I'm going to set up the team in this way just to kick things off. Of course, we are going to have to sim a little bit into the season. As far as bumping anybody up to the NHL for the preseason, I think we're good and we know our roster's set. There isn't going to be anybody that magically makes the lineup. So we're good to go on that front. Now, Waters and Dadnoff are 7th potential. So Cullen will be put into the lineup and Högberg will be out for Jenks. And actually here, let's go best lines. It'll end up putting Jenks in there. So Högberg will be the one that gets scratched. The 2 7th D potential guys will end up sitting, that being Waters and Dadnoff. We don't really need them. And we'll go off of overall for the moment here. Yeah, because we don't really have a lefty-righty dynamic. So that'll be the defense to start. Let me just double-check goaltending. All right, we're good. And forward-wise, Ryan Terrell is not ours. Moreau and Saugus, both drafted by us at one point in time. We just got to double-check that everyone in the lineup is actually where they should be. So Lang is the only other guy that we have to question here. Let's see, left wings, we have Arkhipov, Franz, Jesus Christ, there's a lot of guys there, and most of them weren't even drafted by us. So I think what we'll do, we know Saugus is 26 at this point, so there's got to be somebody younger on this left-hand side, including Franz, and Arkhipov was also drafted by us. Sauve was as well. Jesus, okay, so we have 3 players on that left-hand side that aren't in the lineup. And with Saugus being 26, he'll take a back seat. Halvardson as well might potentially sit. Saugus will be the first one. And Arkhipov, I believe, is the highest drafted. So those will be the lines for now. We'll fix that up as we continue on through the season. And base it off of potentials and overalls once that's all locked in. The big question here, what the hell can we expect in terms of success? Last year, things started at a record-setting level, better than anybody could have ever expected. 23-1-1, of course. Am I expecting the same thing? Absolutely not. But needless to say, as far as where our sights are set right now, we're a contender. Anything shy of making it beyond the first round of the playoffs, I think I would consider a failure. We need to take steps forward. We need to start getting into that deeper playoff run territory. Who knows? Maybe this ends up being a draft episode. Maybe things don't take off. We take a step back and somehow miss the playoffs. Would that surprise me? Not necessarily. I could see it happening, unfortunately, with just how crazy and inconsistent this is. And I don't know, maybe on my part, now I know it's a bit excessive to look at our roster and say we might miss the playoffs. I'm not saying that I think we're going to miss the playoffs. But with how unpredictable things have been thus far, who's to say? With how this game is, would it really be that surprising to you for us to go one season, starting 23-1-1, to the next year missing the playoffs? It's not inconceivable. Thankfully, though, we are off to a pretty good start, 6-1, as we approach the end of the opening month here. 8-2, not bad. We'll get to that point 2 weeks from now, November 16th, where we will take a look at the NHL and AHL lines and see, of course, the confirmed overalls and potentials and what changes could be made, especially when talking about the AHL lineup, which, again, right now they're actually doing okay. North Bay has been nowhere near a playoff spot throughout this entire run. I'd like that to change in today's episode as we start off the year at 10-6, no overtime or shootout losses. It's good enough to be in third place. Ivanov right now. Ivanov, currently leading the team in points. He is a point-a-game player. So the first thing to check would be the entire roster. I want to go to roster moves. Goaltending-wise, Sestito. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I mean, I'm not saying I made the right choice, at least in terms of his development of putting my faith into him, but it certainly has worked out. He has a .912 save percentage, so he's not exactly killing it this year. Pedro Wilson, not exactly killing it this year either. The brick wall needs to undergo, I don't know if you'd say a wall would undergo renovation, but maybe. Saprikin, at the very least, is a 62, by the way, so there's been some development from him, which is pretty nice. Defensively, we know what's locked in. That top four is disgusting. Here's the problem. We have to win before that top four crumbles. We have 4 years before we get priced out of keeping that core. We have to win the Stanley Cup within 4 seasons. We have to. We have to win with that core intact. No choice. Lalonde, by the way, up to an 80, which is tremendous for us. The 24-year-old former 7th round pick. What a selection he was. Down in the AHL, I can see why they're doing all right. I mean, you look at the top 6 there, between a 77 and a 66. It's not too shabby. You can see why their team would be doing relatively well. And then forward-wise, Barahowski's up to an 80. He's actually jumped Booz and Webb. Halvertson's also a 79, which, by the way, Hossa being a third-line checking forward instead of just outright a fourth-line guy is incredibly strange to me. So it's like you have Webb listed as a depth option. He has 4 points in 16 games. That offensive awareness, so I'd like to think he could do a little bit better. Then again, he's been in a more prioritized role on the third line. Hasn't exactly panned out for him so far. It's actually what we're going to take a look at. 8 points, 5 points, 10 points for Krog, 5 for Corson, 6 for Lieb, 4 for Bryson Webb. And then it is actually going to lead me to dropping Webb. I'm going to put Krog into that slightly higher position. But again, the fact that he just seems to lack discipline, even though he has 91 discipline, it doesn't make sense whatsoever. Down in the AHL. So this is what we want to check out. We want to check out overall, and we want to check out potential. We want to make sure that our higher line guys, or our higher potential guys, are in better roles. So low 9 for Reed. Even though he's a 70, it's a very good chance I'm going to take him out of the lineup for someone like Franzen or Sauve. Franzen medium 9, Sauve potentially 6. So we'll bring in Franzen. We'll confirm what he is, and then Sauve might end up getting into this lineup as well, potentially. Face-off wise, yeah, that works. Okay, so let's see. We got the medium 6, the low elites. Quite a few low elites. Right, was Nazarov also a low elite? He was. And from there, we'll go overall. So that is how the team is shaping up if we prioritize how it looks. Not bad. Not bad. I could easily see North Bay finding some success this season. Maybe not being a playoff team, but finishing with the winning record, at least being a respectable team that, could at least put up a fight as opposed to being the punching bag of the AHL. Which, in fairness, I don't even know if you could say that they have been. They've been okay. It's not like they're the expansion Ottawa Senators. It's not like they're the soon-to-be 2018-19 Ottawa Senators. I'm joking. They'll win more than 7 games, maybe. Possibly. Who's to say for sure? 12-6-2. And actually, now since I've run my mouth a little bit, North Bay's North Bay's record has dropped. I was looking at the logo, which is still glorious. It is. It's great. As we hit December 1st, 14-6-3, not quite off to the miraculous start of last year, but we're still very much in contention. So like I said, the big thing that I'm contemplating for this episode would be changing up player types if need be, as there is your current top 5, including Nicolishin. We got a Russian, a German, 2 Germans actually, and a Swede. Not that we're going to be Norbert Blatter. Not that we're going to be anywhere near the top 5, you'd like to think. Gems and bust-wise, 2 gems. Mark Horton and Martin Cole. Neat. Horton might actually be one of the type of players who's available to us. And obviously someone like Cole will definitely be able to target later on in the draft. So we continue onward. Not on the best run of form here, but still looking relatively okay. If we actually start losing... if we start losing a few more games here, it might actually be worth taking a look at the lineup and potentially changing things up and going forward with that idea. I can't help but wonder, too. I was looking at the attributes for those bottom 6 guys. You might have caught that. Very much tempted to look at the AHL roster and look at those attributes because someone like a Hossa, again, being a third-line guy, overall number isn't everything. Individual stats are important because you can have an overall number be boosted by certain attributes that are weighted a little bit more than others. Of course, something like stick checking, defensive awareness, strength, body checking, those seem to impact, those flat out do impact the player's overall more than some other stats, of course, whether that even be like an offensive awareness or a passing, for example. So it could be worth double checking that. One way that it would help to set it up is if we had like a defined, like, okay, skill line, defensive line, checking line, but it's not how you do it anymore. If you can run 4 skill lines, run 4 skill lines. We are up to 25 wins, though. North Bay doing okay as well. I like what I'm seeing. No real room for complaint, although I think this will be stopping for Central Scouting. If I'm not mistaken, that's my guess, at least. Hey, there we go. We'll go ahead and just breeze through that, though. We got our early look at the top 5, at least. Confirmed that there's no franchise-level player. So, we're not missing out on a whole hell of a lot. I have to admit, though, I was going to say, it might not be the worst thing in the world if we were to miss the playoffs. If we were to if we were to win the lottery, that would be great because we could definitely use a true top 6 game changer, especially on that top line. No disrespect to Baldwin or Kaliev, but they're not exactly the 87-plus winger that top line could really use. If we do well enough in drafting, though, of course we have quite a few prospects coming up, maybe we end up getting that person, even though they won't be that instant game changers. We have hit 30 wins on the season. North Bay not that far behind. Both teams continuing to be in contention down the stretch. March 1st, which coincidentally is deadline day, is the time where I'm going to stop and kind of take a look at the team, both teams for that matter, to see if there's anything worth changing up. For the moment, we're feeling good. This very well could be and is probably on pace to be a playoff episode, which, boy, that'll be something, especially considering I was planning on recording other things aside from this, but who knows? Maybe not. Maybe I'll pass out instead. Tired. Sorry, just am. 36 wins on the year. We're going to get that warning about the trade deadline coming up. Of course, we'll never do anything with that day, more than likely. And there we go. March 1st, 36-20-6. North Bay at 33-23-7. So things are looking good for the Doolin Narwhals. Dylan Redden, our leading scorer. We are in 3rd place in the division, 6 points behind the Vegas Golden Knights. Vancouver is also up there. We're actually tied in points with Edmonton, but we have a game at hand. It's a very close Pacific division. It's also the dominant division of the conference, which puts us into a slightly scary spot for a couple of reasons. As we have Lalonde up to an 81, which is very nice. Goaltending-wise, okay, both goalies have gotten it together a little bit, so that's obviously helpful. And if we were to take a look here, Barahowski, 19 points, not bad. Booze, 16, okay, and 18 for Webb. It's looking good. 3rd line, only 17 points for Corriston. Krog's done much better. He takes a lot of penalties for no reason whatsoever, but there is no denying that he can put up points. Lieb only 20 points. I'm a little bit disappointed in Lieb and Corriston. I'm a little bit disappointed in Lieb as well because granted, he's 20. He still has time. He is listed as a 2nd-line guy. I think now is the time. We need to get Lieb into that higher-up role. And in fairness, Krog is also a second liner, but I don't necessarily think we can risk putting him in that role. I don't think we can. He takes too many penalties given the circumstances to play him. And in fairness, our team's discipline in general seems to be questionable. But if we go with that setup that we've been going with, the fourth line's not terrible. Corriston is a concern. So again, 19 points, 18 for Webb. I don't think at this age Berehowski's going to get that much better. Corriston, though, I'm concerned about his point production. He has 91 offensive awareness. Puck skills aren't great, but he has a great shot. I mean, if you look, too, I can see why. I mean, as a power forward, yeah, he's physical. Great offensive awareness, great shot. Not necessarily a good skater. He's not at all. Still, though, I'd like to think he'd have more than 5 goals with that current setup. Apparently not, however. And we'll have Wong and Lieb. So I think Lieb will get the opportunity here. How's Baldwin doing on the top line? 22 goals. No complaints from me there. So for the moment, we're fine. Down in the AHL, you do have Miroslav Hossa, who again is listed as a fourth line guy now rather than a third line guy. Okay. Pretty well rounded. A true two-way. Pretty well rounded. There was also a Dan Gray, listed as a depth option. Same thing, pretty well-rounded. Not overly physical, doesn't have the best shot in the world. Could go as a playmaker at the NHL level. And then there's Halverson, of course, who was in the lineup last year. Not bad. Not bad. Pretty good playmaker, actually, if we were to switch that up. So the thought of still optimizing players, based on player type and everything, is still there, especially if we end up getting into a little bit of trouble. For now, despite the fact that we are 8-2 in our last 10 games, we have made those changes, and we are going to go ahead and sim through the month of March. Let's get down the stretch and see what we can do. Where will we be come April 1st? It's a very tough division to find ourselves in right now. We're on a pretty damn good point streak, though. That'll probably end relatively soon. But we're looking really good. It's just a matter of whether or not we can keep this up because the pressure's on. The pressure is on. We're doing very well right now. I can't hide it. I can't ignore it. We are on a tremendous run right now. Even if it ends here over the course of this weekend, which it didn't. We'll see about the midweek back-to-back against Calgary and Edmonton, our own personal battle of Alberta. And my goodness, the run that we are on right now. We nearly went the entire month without a regulation loss. 2 losses in March. Unreal. The shootout loss to Anaheim and then a 3-0 loss to Buffalo, who in fairness is a great team. 49-21-7 with 5 games to go. It's not a question of whether or not we're in the playoffs. Very clearly we are. We're battling for the division title. North Bay might also be in a playoff spot thanks to the 8 overtime losses. And there you have it. We are currently number 1 in the Pacific, one of 3 teams that currently have 100 or more points. Absolutely crazy. The big thing now is whether or not we can win 1 or 2 more games and solidify that top spot and what would be the top record in the conference and currently is the top record in the NHL. But we have another very tough game coming up here against New Jersey. They're on one hell of a run. Let's see what we can do. 2 wins should solidify the division title. Potentially more. We'll send this game against New Jersey. It's a 4-0 loss, which is kind of what I was afraid of once I saw their record. We're coming up against the Bruins. This is a winnable game. And if we want to make sure we get home ice, especially with both Vegas and Vancouver winning, we need to win this game. Can we get the job done? Yes, we can. In the shootout, we'll send to this game against Carolina, which despite them having a very good record, they're not on the best run lately. Let's take a look. We are 3 points clear of Vegas and Vancouver. So obviously the most they can finish with, 110 points. 2 wins in our final 3 games guarantees us the conference title, really. Although Buffalo has jumped us, the Sabres, granted, they have played 2 more games. So we are still in the driver's seat right now to finish as President's Trophy winners. We need to win games like this, though. Can we beat Carolina? No, we cannot. We get shut out 2-0, and that sets us up for a very rough situation. Back-to-back on the road, Pittsburgh and Nashville, 107 points. The Sabres finish at 109, and we are only 1 point clear of Vegas. We win both games, the President's Trophy is ours. 3 out of 4 points would secure it as well. We need to beat Pittsburgh. Can we do so? Yes, we can. 5-4. That still doesn't clinch the division title. Vancouver's off the pace. Vegas is not. So if we win our final game of the season, we will take the President's Trophy. We might still technically take it off of tiebreaker from Buffalo anyway, although they do have 52 wins. A win here against Nashville secures us the President's Trophy. At worst, we lose and end up getting jumped by Vegas and play the Canucks in the first round. This might as well be a playoff game. Let's find out what happens. Where are we going to be playing this first round matchup? Can we beat Nashville and save ourselves a whole lot of trouble? We cannot. Oh, God, come on. And instead of heading into the playoffs on a bit of a high note in a celebratory manner of winning 51 games, instead, it's more frustration as the President's Trophy slips away from us. The Vegas Golden Knights win said award and condemn us to a first-round matchup with the 108 win, 108 points, 50 win Vancouver Canucks. It might as well feel as if they have 108 wins, because we just went from playing Minnesota at 42 wins to playing Vancouver at 50, because we let the record slip in the final week of the season. And that is why it kind of feels like a loss heading in to this postseason matchup. We were a top 3 team in the league, but now it feels like we have an uphill battle. We were mid-table in terms of goals for. Goals against, we had the second lowest number in the league. However, number 1 is Vancouver. It's such an obstacle in our way. Power play percentage, Vancouver at 22.7%. Not even sure where we were. Mid-table somewhere is the answer. Our penalty kill was one of the lowest in the league, and we're taking on the 3rd best power play. Rather than playing Minnesota, we shoot ourselves in the foot and have to deal with this much more difficult matchup. In terms of point production, not the best season from our top line. 72 points for Redden, but he is better than that. We know he is better than that. At least you'd like to think. I mean, granted, he's never really taken over. Never had above 80 points. 70 points over the last 4 seasons. You have Fragapani, 59 points. He is certainly better than that. That's disappointing. Baldwin, 31 goals, which is tremendous. His first 30-goal season. So I'm happy with that. But between Redden and Fragapani, I'm not impressed. Really, I'm not impressed with many of our guys in terms of point production. We had 3 20-goal scorers. Might be worth double-checking the AHL roster. I mean, granted, we do have defensemen that can put up points. Zeeler, of course, led the way. Niedermeyer, Rokon, Fuller. Goaltending-wise, Very strong season for Brock Sestito. A great record, 11 shutouts and 62 appearances. And Pedro Wilson wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible as a backup. But despite a successful season, you can see some flaws with our team just on the surface. Jesus Christ, Vine handle. You can see some flaws with our team on the surface. And then you look at what we're going up against. And I can't say that I'm overly optimistic. It's going to be a tough challenge. And whether or not we can get the job done, I honestly don't know. I think we do need to look at potentially changing things up. I'm just not sure what we would do. A top line being split up might not be the worst idea in the world. I gotta be honest. Let's take a look again. So Barahowski did what we needed him to do. Again, anything over 20 points as a fourth liner is good. Booze was great. Webb was great. So at the very least, I mean, our depth roles did step up. Koriston was disappointing. Krog was great. Kaliev was fine. 29 points. That's he's better than that, man. He should be at least. 31 points for Lieb, Ivanov, and then Caden Wong. I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to reward Krog. Now, Lieb did step up, but right now he's not a massive point getter. He is the stereotypical two-way. He's never going to be, more than likely, a massive point total guy. So it might be worth bumping up Krog. Even with the penalty minute risk, it could be worth it. Down in the AHL, you still have Hossa at a 78. Which, again, he's also pretty much the stereotypical two-way, prototypical two-way. And a Dan Gray, similar, probably a playmaker as opposed to a sniper. So I don't really think either would be ready necessarily to step up and take a spot. So I think our team is what it is. The only thing we could really look to change heading into the playoffs would be optimization in terms of player types, and even then, that would not take immediate effect. It's just not how the game works. Our power play is fine. I think it's kind of crazy. 87, 88, 92, 89. Yeah, that's what I thought. I think it's kind of crazy that they're split up. Krog would certainly explain why he has the point total that he does. He was still having power play time. What do we want to do here? Let's put Baldwin here, Krog here. Bump up Redden, obviously. And that works for me. That works for me. And then penalty kill is Krog, Lieb, Booze, and Redden, who are the top players right now in terms of defensive ability. Let's see. Not a great skater, Barahowski. 3.5 defense. 4.5 defense, excuse me. 4.5 defense for Booze. Good skater, but Koriston, again, not a great skater. Gary Lieb is a good penalty killer. So Lieb and Koriston are great. Krog, Ivanov, Wong would be okay too. So Ivanov, Krog, Lieb, and Booze. I think that's how we're going to do that. All right. So we're just going to get Ivanov into this equation here, and then we run our top line once the power play is over. So we're going to go Ivanov, Lieb, Booze, and Krog, and then defensively, it's pretty straightforward with the exception of we got to take out Pilstrom. And we have to go with Zeeler. We'll just go with our top unit there. So hopefully that changes up the penalty kill, puts us into a better spot heading into this matchup. But we are what we are. That's the only way to view it. We certainly have some question marks about this lineup. It's extremely frustrating, and we admittedly may have signed our own death warrant. by not securing the President's Trophy. But let's go ahead and move on. We know who we're playing. We'll take a look at their lineup in a moment. My big thing is whether or not the AHL team made the playoffs, and they did not. North Bay had a really good shot, but they ended up falling just short. Still no playoffs for the Doolin Narwhals throughout the course of this series, which means our focus will be 100% on this series here against Vancouver. Top line of Artemi Panarin, Emil Pettersson, and Brock Besser. Rohan Helms, a former 20th overall pick, is on the second line with Jonathan Dahlen and Cole Lind. Again, none of these overalls are really going to be locked in at the moment. John Quinville is with Bo Horvat and Sven Berchke. Fourth line of Morgan Klimchuk, Miles Stoll, former 22nd overall pick, and Valentin Zykov. So offensively, I mean, that top line's ridiculous. It's not the most threatening team I've ever seen in terms of overalls, even though nothing's locked in. Defensively, it's also not great. Olli Levy and Jaden Visentin, who is a former second-round pick. Second pairing is Stan Muzzin, a former fifth-round pick, and fifth-round steal for them with Derek Pouliot, and then Slater Cuckoo is with Trevor Van Riemsdyk. The problem is that they have a goaltender by the name of Thatcher Demko. That is the problem. And with that .936 save percentage, back-to-back seasons of a .930 save percentage or better, he is what we have to overcome. Whether or not we can do so is the question. At the very least, we have home ice advantage for this series. Whether or not we're able to make the most of it, that is the question, and we are going to find out right here and right now. It's Game 1, first period. Let's see what happens, and it's scoreless, 10 shots to 8 in their favor. Not a terrible start. Second period. All right, that's promising. Baldwin scores 14 seconds in. Cuckoo ties it. Booze is able to get the difference maker and restore the lead. They have the slight edge in shots, but we're up 2-1 on the board, heading in to the third period. Booze right now has the difference maker. Power play for the Canucks goes to waste. We get one of our own. Nothing doing there either as we hit the halfway point of the third period. The next goal, if there is one, is going to be oh so important, especially at this point in time. Power play for the Canucks is killed off, and that will do it. A quiet third period on the goal-scoring front. Plenty of opportunities, but no team could find the back of the net. Neither team could find the back of the net. And Booze's goal will stand up as the game winner. So Sestito with 28 saves, Baldwin and Booze the goals, and the California Golden Seals take Game 1. No major drama, no major controversy. We get the first goal of the game. We give up another. We get it right back. And that was that. Score one to the good guys. Unfortunately, we still have a long way to go. Game 2, I'm going to jump right into this as well. No need to make any changes. It's just a matter of whether or not the team can get the job done. Let's find out. First period of Game 2. And it's a similar story. We get the opening goal. Caden Wong. Besser ties it. Dylan Redden, though, is able to restore the lead. We outshot them 12-9 and have a 2-1 advantage on the board. I don't expect this will stay the same, though, at the end of the second period. Let's find out. Second period. And, you know, I was right. It didn't stay the same. I didn't expect to have this much optimism and joy, but I'll take it. Redden gets his second of the game. Baldwin gets another as well. 26 shots to 12. 4-1 on the board. Things are looking good here in Oakland. A 3-goal lead heading into the third period. We've held them to just 12 shots. They're up to 14 early, though. Power play opportunity. That would be the final nail in the coffin. It doesn't happen. We have another power play opportunity. The power play. I don't know what the power play is. It worked, though. Ivanov scores. Olli Levy gets it right back, though. 5 seconds later, mind you. 5-2. 6:19 to go. And it is it's going to be like in a fucking booyaka out of California. 5-2 final in Game 2. 39 shots to 23. Your Golden Seals have a 2-0 lead on the Vancouver Canucks. 2 goals for Redden, a first-star performance. We have defended home ice as we needed to do. We took advantage of that opportunity. I mean, thankfully, that skid at the end of the season didn't cost us home ice in the first round. It very well could have. We take both games at home to start. The series now shifts to Vancouver for games 3 and 4. We're not going to make any lineup changes. We are going to get right down to business. It's game 3. Let's see what we can do. Here we go. First period. And Vancouver has their first lead of this series. Byzantine, the lone goal of the first period. They just barely outshot us. Second period, can we get back into it? No, we cannot. Jonathan Dahlen makes it 23 shots to 15. Can we battle our way back into this game here in the third period? Early power play chance for the Canucks goes to waste. We need a quick goal. We have a power play chance to potentially do so. It goes to waste as well as we hit the halfway point, and we are in a massive amount of trouble. Extended power play for the Canucks. They can't score, but they're able to keep our best players off the ice, and that is that. A very, very one-sided affair, I'd say. I mean, granted, the shots were about even, but 2-0 final. Thatcher Demko with the 27-save shutout. Sestito did his job. He gave us a chance, but we could not solve Demko in that game, and that is a scary thought, thinking that he is going to be back on his game, because if Thatcher Demko is playing at his best, we likely cannot win this series. I think it's that straightforward. I really do. Hopefully, though, it was just a one-game blip. The home team is yet to lose. We're looking to change that in Game 4. If we win this here, of course, we have a chance to end the series on home ice in 5. But we got to take it one game at a time. Game 4. I feel like we're breezing through this, but it kind of speaks for itself. Let's see what happens. First period is scoreless. We are outshot 12-4. So the fact that the other team put up 3 times as many shots as we did, yet we're still tied, I view that as a W, even though, of course, we were thoroughly dominated in that period. Question is, can we find a way to score? Second period, yeah, we can. We can do that. Thank you for answering my question. We can absolutely do that. Yes, thanks, please. Krog, Fuller, and Baldwin, 3-0 Seals. We're being outshot 24-11. We were shut out in the last game, and out of nowhere, we score 3 goals on 7 shots. Krog, Fuller, and Baldwin. 3-0. To the third period we go. We are under 20 minutes away from having a chance to end this series in 5 games. I think you could tell by my tone, and even my tone now, this certainly was not expected. As Brock Sestito shuts out the Vancouver Canucks in Game 4, the home team loses a game in this series for the first time. 37 shots to 20, but a 3-0 shutout victory. Sestito, Krog, and Ivanov led the way, and we are 1 game away as Vegas was swept by Minnesota. What is happening? It's October 1st. Are we in the Twilight Zone? Like, have we been flipped to a different dimension? Because we're beating Vancouver, and the President's Trophy winners were swept. Okay, then. Like, that's my reaction. What is going on? Aside from the fact that I hope to be able to answer that question in a few moments by being able to say, well, what's going on is we're going to the second round. What a bizarre, absolutely bizarre turn of events. And that brings us to Game 5. Back home in Oakland. Let's see if we can get the job done. No need to make any lineup changes. It's straightforward. We're good to go. Let's get the job done. First period of Game 5 is scoreless. They outshot us 13-5. See it again. Despite the fact that we were dominated, I feel fortunate in that we are not currently losing. Second period, and it's a goal apiece. Panarin gets the opening goal. Late in the period, though, Caden Wong ties it. 20 shots to 16. 1-all on the board. Needless to say, the next goal is going to be very, very important. The Canucks have a power play that goes to waste. We get a quick power play of our own. Nothing doing there. Vancouver back on the power play and taking advantage of it. It's Artemi Panarin giving them the lead. 6 minutes to go. Do we have a goal to force overtime? That is the question. 2 minutes remaining, and we are going back to Game 6. I was really hoping that was going to be our goal. Brock Besser with the empty netter ends it. 3-1 final for the Canucks in Game 5. And this series is not over just yet. We waste our first opportunity to close things out. The Canucks battle back, and now we have to travel to Vancouver for Game 6. So in the West, only one series is done. In the East, not a single series is over. Of course, if we can get past Vancouver and Buffalo's eliminated, we have home ice for the rest of the way. But that is out of the question at the moment in terms of focusing on. We have to take one game at a time. This series is not over. We are going to Game 6. It's right here and right now. Back in the playoffs. Everything that we accomplished this season, we fell short, but now opportunity has presented itself. We just have to beat Vancouver one more time. Game 6 on the road. First period, and that is not ideal, but not an outright disaster. Cole Lind gets the opening goal. Booze ties it. Pettersson, though, reestablishes the lead. 9 shots to 7. 2-1 on the board for the Canucks. Second period, can we see a big performance from some of our stars? Helms makes it 3-1. Kaliev gets a goal back. 21 shots to 13 in their favor, and we are either 20 minutes away from ending the series, going to overtime, or going back home for Game 7. Early power play chance goes to waste. We have another power play opportunity that also goes to waste as we approach the halfway mark of the period. It's another power play opportunity. That goes to waste. 5 minutes remaining, and Sven Berchke seals the deal. We are going to a Game 7 here in the first round against the Canucks. We had them where we wanted them, and we've left them off the hook. I said earlier in this episode, anything short of making it to the second round would be a disappointment. And needless to say, a first round exit here would be an outright disaster. That top line hasn't really been all that effective, at least not to the extent that we need them to be. The fourth line, we can't really say has contributed much. The third line as well. It's either we look to change everything up, or we keep the team as is and hope for the best. And admittedly, I don't really like the idea of keeping the team together and hoping for the best. I like the idea of pointing fingers, saying, here's the problem, and moving on from there. So we're going to set this team up at the moment in the best way we possibly can in terms of production amongst our players. Ivanov and Redden have been the top two. From there, among players with 3 points, I'd say Baldwin's been better. That's going to be our top line. Fragapani's going to be down to the second line. And from there, 2 points, Wong, Booze, Corriston. We will probably go with Wong, so we're going to be changing centers there for the top line. And then that third line, the 1 point for Kaliev is at least a +1. I think that's the change we're going to make. So the new third line is going to be Kaliev, Booze, Corriston, fourth line, Webb, Barahowski, and Lieb. I believe Lieb has the best face-off rating in the bunch. Indeed, he does. As far as the defense is concerned, top pairing's been great. Second pairing's been kind of meh. Third pairing's been kind of meh. Zeeler and Pielstrom will be swapped just to create some sort of a difference there. And say what you want, Brock Sestito cannot be blamed. He has done his job. We just need people to step up on the offensive side of things. And unfortunately, we haven't seen that just yet. And I got to admit, desperate times call for desperate measures. I'm going with a major overhaul here. I'm desperate to get out of the situation. Desperate to get out of the situation. Desperate to win. Lieb, Barahowski, and Webb have been our 3 most underperforming players. At least the least effective. They are going to be dropped for Gray, Halverson, and Hossa. And we are going to look to bring some fresh legs into this lineup that can potentially get the job done. So again, Red, Ivanov, Baldwin, Wong, Fragapani, and Krog. And from there, the lineup will pretty much speak for itself. I think Gray will probably be the center of this line. Maybe. It's going to be Hossa, actually. So Gray, Hossa, Halverson. On paper, the lineup is worse. But on paper, hasn't meant a damn thing as far as our success in the series. We need players to show up. Period. We need the top line to show up. We need Fragapani to show up. No goals in the series. We know we're good enough to win. It's just whether or not we will. Will the fresh legs be enough of a spark to put us over the edge? Or are we yet again going home early and in extremely disappointing fashion? First period of Game 7, and we get the opening goal, and it's Baldwin, his 4th goal of the round. 12 shots to 7, and an early lead for the Golden Seals. Second period. Well, the third period isn't going to be as dramatic as it possibly could have been, so I'm not sure how that works for the sake of the narrative, but yeah. You fucking... Where was this the entire time? Like, I'm not even happy. I'm not. That's how this game gets me. That's how it gets me. It's like, oh, hey, you know how you're up 3-1 and now you're going to Game 7 and you're kind of depressed and you really think you're going to lose and you're going to blow it? 5-0 at the end of the second period. Like, come on, EA. Like, it's good for the dramatics, but if you're going to go with the dramatic approach, you at least got to have the third period be dramatic. Now, instead, I'm just pissed off and anxious and sad when my team is about to just walk their way to a Game 7 victory. This is why I can't be one of those YouTubers that fucking freaks out and throws chairs across the room, because this game messes with me on a psychological level. Ivanov, Baldwin, Fragapani, Kaliev, 5-0 California, 25 shots to 20. Third period, let's go. We are punching our ticket to the second round as Jonathan Dahlen gets an early goal. We are going to the second round, barring the worst goddamn collapse in NHL history. Miracle on whatever between Los Angeles. I can't remember the name of it. The Los Angeles comeback. You know what it is. As there you go. Confirmed. 5-1 final in Game 7. We avoid a scare. We avoid blowing a 3-1 series lead. We step up and we get the job done. We are going to the next round. We live to see another day. We live to fight another day. The California Golden Steels are on to the second round. And now it's a complete unknown. Vegas is out. We have eliminated Vancouver. In theory, our two biggest competitors are gone. So now, rather than the goal being, well, at least get out of the first round, you can almost say that there's really no excuse for us to not have this go down as the best season in club history, if you catch my drift. In terms of who is left at this point, Minnesota swept Vegas, Edmonton beat Chicago in 7, and Nashville beat Colorado in 6. Nashville, Edmonton, and Minnesota. If we take a look, Edmonton, 105 points, a respectable record for sure. They would have been, a top team in any other division had it not been in the Pacific. Chicago, 99 points, Nashville, 97, Minnesota, 93. I'm not going to say there are any easy teams to beat here, but you look at Vegas, you look at Vancouver, they're both off the board. We have a chance for this to be one hell of a season. Step 1, task 1, obstacle 1, mission accomplished. We have outlasted Vancouver, and we are on to round 2. In the next round, in the next episode, we take on the team that not only upset Vegas, but swept Vegas, the Minnesota Wild. We'll take a look at their lineup. Obviously, there could be some room for debate as far as what we do with our lineup. We'll probably call players up from the AHL to set things up. A lot of different things going through my mind, but regardless, we are done for now. The playoff journey continues in the next episode. The psychological warfare between myself and EA continues. That's going on forever. That's in perpetuity. That will never end. Thank you guys for watching. You know the deal. Support the video. Support the channel. Check out everything in the description. There's a lot there, including some things you might like if you're a fan of FHM, Franchise Hockey Manager. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.